Right, let's think about what we're doing, and hopefully I've got this done correctly this time. We are going to have a look at Sparkview. Now, if you are sensible, you will put your copy of Sparkview in the dock, like we've got it. First thing we should do is open it up. Now, I'm hoping that what you've done is to have your probe already connected to your computer, and we are going to make a manual entry and get things started. So if I come to this side and click, I have the screen that I'm looking for. Now I'm going to adjust it so it's full screen and I can work from there. Right, the first thing we do is we decide what we're going to do. And our x-axis, or horizontal one here, most of the time we're doing these, it is going to be time. So click on this and it gives us some options. The one we want is time in seconds. Now this is for our data table, not for our graph, so we've got to be doing this on the way through. Our y-axis, or what we want to see what happens, is our temperature in this case. And this depends on what you've already attached to your computer. Each of our data logging controls have got 4 different positions for you to handle or put probes into it. So make sure it's the right one you are clicking on. In this case, I can see that the only one that is really an option for me is temperature. And it's in position 1. You should check your control box before you go on with that. Right, now for the graph, I have to tell it what's going on. So our y-axis is again temperature. Our x-axis, now it's a bit hard to see, people can easily lose this. What I do is come to this and close it. And then down here is the x-axis, and we're going to say that's time in seconds again. Now I'm just going to move the 0 point down because we're dealing with ice and heating things at the moment. And so that will have a starting point of 0 or above and working from there. Alright, so we're getting close to where we started. Now, let's give it a name while we think of it. I'm going to rename the current page. I don't want to call Y versus X. I want it called measuring temperature. Or something similar. There should be something about your activity. Okay, so now it's changed the name up here. Now I've got these things labelled, I've got my columns on my labelled, and I've got my axes labelled on my graph. Now, let's do the next bit, preparing. This tells me how often I'm going to sample. If I do 20 Hertz, it means I am going to be sampling 20 times per second. Alright, that's quite a few times per second, so I don't think we really need that. A lot of the sampling we're doing is going to be a lot less often. So how about we go to, excuse me, how about we go to the 2, in other words, every half second we're going to sample. Right, I'm okay with that. So now I've got my axes done, my columns done on my table, my axes on my graph. And I've told it how often I'm going to sample. So if we go down the bottom, we're ready. Now, if our probe is not here, we cannot do any more because this button will not work without it. Now, if you look very carefully, it's green for go, and it's a circle. So let's click it and see what happens. Run 1 is supposed to be in purple. So I should start to see some, oh actually I've got blue now, it's changed. My temperature is blue, and it is making us one every half second. Now I'm very quickly going to be off scale here, so what I'm going to do is to do this. I grab it, I hold it down my left hand, I bring it across, and let's say we're going to do about 50 seconds worth. Now we can also do the same with the vertical axis too. So we can decide how much we're seeing. As expected, I'm just measuring air temperature in the room here with me. So we should have a very little difference, and whatever difference there is is due to little air currents in the room itself. Alright, after 50 seconds you'll notice that the bottom point has gone from being yellow and circular to red and square. So I'm going to stop it, and we've actually measured 58.4 seconds. And here is our results for that particular amount of time. Now you're often working in pairs, so the next bit is something important. If I come up to the thing that looks like a camera, it is going to make almost like a screenshot of what I've got here. Now that can become very useful when we want to label things a bit later on and when we want to share with our partners. So if we click on it, it has made a copy of that, and here it is here. Now before I go any further, I'm going to decrease the size of this screen, my Sparkview screen. Okay, now if I want to send it to my partner, I can do a couple of things. The first thing I need to do is to put it on my desktop. See how it's changed, and we've got the green plus sign? That says, yep, we can do this. So I've dragged it out. There is a copy of it still left in here if I need to use it later. Now I'll let it go, and that will form a copy on my desktop. Now I can simply email it or airdrop it to someone who needs it, and I can share it around, and we can do all sorts of things with it. So that, in a nutshell, is how we get started with using Sparkview. And I hope that is going to be most helpful as we get to know and use a variety of data logging tools over the next year or so.